So, for the past, yeah, this is it. I'd say about a year. I've been working on this game. You're gonna see why I have a PSP in a second. I started work on this game because I was bored and I was sad and I didn't know what to do with my life. And I thought, well, I always wanted to make a game, a homebrew game for the PSP. Growing up, I played my PSP a lot, and I relied heavily on homebrew because first of all, the UMD drive broke. Second of all, I didn't have a big memory stick, so I played a lot of homebrew on it, played a lot of emulators and everything. And I always wanted to make one. So this is not my original PSP. I have no clue what happened to mine. I had a piano black PSP also. This is a 3000, but I had a 2000. So this PSP right here is running custom firmware. Very beautiful screen, by the way. I have to say this screen holds up pretty well even today. Despite the interlacing, it holds up very well. So I started work on this game. I didn't have a name for it. I pulled up a GitHub repository, came up with a GitHub repository, didn't know what I was going to code it in, compiled, let's see, I had this old HP 15-inch, it was red. It was a pretty decent computer. Let's see when I started this. I compiled the PSP SDK on there a long time ago. Let's see, in about December of that year, I compiled the PSP SDK, played around with some of the samples, even ran it on my actual PSP. Somehow I lost the PSP between there and when I started this project. I managed to somehow get it compiled and working in Windows, the SDK. And June 19th, 2016 was the initial commit of this project, which just had the license and README. And then the actual initial comment began the project in C. As you can see, get it, C? This is just a very basic analog test. All the player did really was move around, and it was fully analog and everything. The player rotated with the analog stick. I was kind of proud of it. I played it in an emulator. I didn't have any way of testing it on the actual PSP. You can see right here, analog sample. Let's see, can I show some code here? Yeah, here's the initial camera. I had a little mini camera going on. I mean, a lot of this stuff, the cameras remain largely unchanged. It was built for the PSP first. So if I can browse files. At this time, there's one make file, and it only targets the PSP. See, all of this is PSP related stuff. Framebuffer.c, I don't use Framebuffer anymore. Here's some binary files that I was testing, some unnamed PSP game that I'm putting up for convenience or reference. Well, it's been about a year now since I've worked on that. Actually, it's been past a year because today is the 30th. And now you come to this repository, and it's got 147 commits, still mainly written in C. I wrote it in C because C++ didn't work too well compiling on the PSP. I could never figure out why. But you're going to see there's also C++ and there's Lua too. So this game's got a lot more to it, including a VS Code directory, which I have to get rid of. But there's compiling for Linux, compiling for OS X. It cross-compiles for the PSP, and there's an SDL version here. Pretty neat stuff. Runs on Windows, Mac, Linux, and the PSP. There's a lot more to this game. Let's see, this has over 414 lines just in my main.c class. There's so much to it. And now I finally have a PSP to actually test it on. Today what we're going to do is we're going to fire up a virtual machine, and we're going to go ahead and compile and test out the current version of the game and see how it is on the PSP. Now I'm firing up this Ubuntu VM. Just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna full screen. Oh god. Okay. It brought me right back to the last time. Oh god, it's a little buggy. Brought me right back to the last time I worked on this, which was just yesterday. Worked on getting this compiled for the PSP. So I'm gonna go ahead and run a git pull. make. Boom, there we go. That's great. Alright, next step is I'm going to go ahead and fire up the PSP, turn on USB connection, or knock the battery out while I'm at it. Alright, we're up in USB mode. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this to the PSP, gonna apply to all, right into, apply to all, overwrite. As much as I love KDE, it is super buggy in Parallels, and I'm gonna assume it's buggy in any virtual machine because it's very graphics heavy, graphics driven. Alright, so it's copied there. I'm gonna go ahead and eject the PSP because I've already corrupted files on the memory stick by not ejecting it. PSP is very sensitive about that. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna come over here to avoid any spoilers about the nature of the game I'm making. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna run it. I'm just gonna run this initial version. And I have some other things, more than just the game, to show you actually. So this is part of the game, or part of what I've been working on really. Analog movement is it's hard to tell, but it's there. It's just not as, you know, fine-tuned as I'd like it to be because I haven't had much time with an actual analog stick. Lately, most of my work's been done on the SDL port. Can I kind of like, there we go. And did I mention there's full Lua scripting? Collision's kind of a little iffy right now. That's something else I have to work on, but I just did kind of a decently sized overhaul to the map system earlier today. Yeah, see, collision's really buggy. I have to fix that. I just did a decently sized change to the map system. So it's good to see that it's still working right now. Nothing you can see right now. It's mostly internal stuff, but yeah, I don't know why bottom collisions aren't working like that. In the very bottom layer, or very bottom row. So it's going to be a top-down game, as you can see. And I have something else to show, which I'm going to go pull up right now, because my phone's dying, so I have to make this kind of quickly. But yeah, works on the PSP. Good to see this running on here after a year of working on this. I know it doesn't look like much after a year, but it's been a lot of low-level stuff. And this, which I just got done in about 3 weeks. I mean, the level editor that I've been making in Qt and C++. We just kind of, I have to do this because sometimes OS 10 is weird about that. So this is it. I've really only tested this on OS 10, so I don't know how it behaves. I know it works on Windows and Linux, but I haven't gone in depth and made stuff or anything with it. So here it is. There's the collision mapping, so I can place solid tiles here. Solid tiles are marked in red. And I can go like this if I want to. Supports the tile rotation, which, yes, the engine does support tile rotation. I guess I'll put water in here. So on OS 10, it supports, you know, all the native stuff, like, you know, this file's been modified or whatever. And even better, there's the new file dialog, which I just made. You can select the tile set that goes with it. Fix a new level. You can open levels. I'm just gonna open the same level we just had open. Basically the same level we just had open. Here it is. Trackpad is kind of wonky, but that's okay. I'll fix that. I just want to check out this collision map real quick and see if I properly... Yeah, okay. These aren't properly collidable. I'll just save that real quick. So, yeah, it doesn't look like much right now, and I haven't fully implemented all the changes I made. The change I just made was, I call it layer 2. So there's going to be a secondary tile that's above a normal tile, basically. It's going to look nice when I want to make stuff that's not a full tile size, like not 32 by 32, smaller than 32 by 32, so like a tree stump or something like that, or grass or whatever. It's gonna look good for that. But so this is a year's work, give or take, Not exactly a year's work because I haven't done just this for a year and I haven't done just that for a year. But, it's something. I'm proud of what I've done so far, and I figure after a year I'm ready to show something off. I am dedicated to keeping this cross-compiled for the PSP. We'll see how much I can do with that. But eventually, when I release this game, I want to release it for cheap because I don't think that in its current form at least, it's not really worth anything more than $1. So it'll be $1 game, maybe on Steam or whatever. Who knows? It's just going to be a very simple game, and that basically you buy the PC version and you get the PSP version. That's my plan at least. And we'll see if I can go with that and, see what I can do. So hopefully soon I'll be making another update on this game. For tools, I've been using Qt Creator, of course, for the editor. I've been making it in Qt Creator, so you can see here's the designer form. The OpenGL dialog doesn't work too well. I've been using Atom mostly for just the actual game. It's all written in C. Literally all of it's written in C. And I also mentioned, I'll show off this real quick, I also mentioned Lua scripting. See, here's some Lua scripts. Script.lua isn't anything, but there's some other things in here, like, let's see, here's npc.lua. This is for making an NPC. That's bound strictly to Lua with only loose ties to C, basically. Lua can handle a lot. Lua in its current form can manipulate just about any part of the engine that I so choose to. A level file can have a Lua file associated with it. So if you have level.bin, you have to have level.lua. If you have meme.bin, you'd have to have meme.lua. And that goes strictly to the level. As you can see, there's inheritance. Here's that test NPC that you saw in the top left corner that I didn't talk to. But Lua in this engine can do a fair bit. And Lua is a lot easier to work with in C than it is in C++. So that's going to be it for now. And we'll see the next update soon.